I've had this shop for a couple of years now, and what I have realized, I'm missing something. I'm missing a shop truck. Well, I actually had an opportunity come up and I bought one. So once I became an official shop, I realized that I need an official shop truck. And a buddy of mine, Aaron Avery, I'm sure y'all have seen him on the channel, the tall guy with the big beard. He actually was planning on getting rid of his Gladiator, and I bought it from him. And that's going to be the 6 Feet Under Fab shop truck. So I'm starting a new series. It's going to be the 6 Feet Under Fab Gladiator shop truck build. This is a 2020 Jeep Gladiator. It's got, I believe, 50-something thousand miles on it. It's got the 3.6 gas motor. It's got a beat-up front bumper. So it has some factory parts that I really like. It's got the factory Mopar bed cover. It does have the Mopar 2-inch lift that the dealership installed. And it does have a soft top, which is a huge must for me. And another thing that I really love about this truck, and it's pretty much the reason I bought it, is it's a 6-speed manual transmission. I know that the manual transmissions in these Jeeps are kind of controversial, but it has had the clutch recall done, and it also has a brand new motor in it from Jeep. So when Aaron was driving it, there was some stuff going wrong with it. And long story short, he took it to the dealership and Jeep said, hey, we're sending you a new motor. So it's got less than 1,000 miles on the motor. So I think that's pretty cool. So it's a new motor and a new clutch. So what I've done to this Jeep so far is I put a new grill in. I found a Stingray grill that I thought was pretty cool. And I did put these Rubicon hooks on. I'll be replacing the bumper. And what else have I done? I put a throttle commander on it, and I put a taser on it too. So you can see I have the factory grill right there. I'll probably just be giving that back to Aaron. I just wanted to put the silver grill on just to change it up. Black Jeeps are kind of boring, and that kind of brings me to the point, you know, what am I going to be doing with this? So like I said, I'm not doing anything crazy with it. It's just going to be a shop truck that I'll be using to go get parts and stuff like that. But I still want to build it just a little bit. You know, I'll be putting 37s on it. I'm going to be running some RockTrix wheels. I'm probably going to keep the Mopar lift on it right now. And I may just get a spacer just to kind of pick it up in the front. I will be replacing that crummy factory bumper, probably putting like a moto-built winch bumper or something on like that. And then I'll probably be putting some Rubicon rock rails on it to get rid of those grandpa steps.
I am not a grandpa!
And if you would put in the comments what suspension system you think would be cool on that. I'm looking at a couple of different companies that I want to go with. I really like the Clayton kits. I really like the Rusty's kits, and I like the Metal Cloak kits, but I can't decide on which suspension system that I want to go with. I'm looking at doing a 3.5-inch lift on it, and there's so many options out there for these Gladiators, and I wanted to hear your opinions on it. So put in the comments what suspension system you think I should be putting on this Gladiator. So now I'm going to be bringing the Jeep into the shop. I want to start doing some stuff. All of my parts haven't come in yet, but I do want to just go ahead and start getting a game plan of what I want to do with this Jeep. I can honestly see why everybody wants to build these four-door platforms just because they're so convenient. The kids really like this Jeep. What do you think of the Jeep, Autumn?
I like it.
You like it? I can fit all the Barbies in there? Okay.
I just want to know in my goddamn ponytail.
I put the hair in the ponytail. Yeah. And I had to do a lot of cleaning in this interior thanks to Aaron. But
I don't like peppermint.
Okay. But yeah, so you can see it's just kind of, it does have the power windows, and it's got the smaller screen, which I like. And it's got the doll.
The mirror.
Oh, it's got a mirror, that's right, Autumn. I do have some of the parts in. I'll show you what we have already. So here is a Moto-Built crusher bumper that I will be putting on, and I'm also going to be putting the worn winch that's right over there. I'll be putting that on. I do have some aux beam amber fog lights that I'm going to be putting on, and here are the front spacers that I'm just going to be doing. So I've seen a lot of guys on the Gladiator forums with the Mopar 2-inch lifts. They end up using just a puck style lift to clear 37s. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting to decide on which suspension system that I'm going to use, I'm just going to throw on these pucks in the front, and I'm probably going to put these on in the rear. I do have a factory 55 thimble that I'm going to be using. I have a Clayton adjustable front track bar that I'm going to be putting on. And then I found this on Facebook Marketplace. It is a anti-rock front sway bar, and it seems to be in decent condition. It just looks like it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I'm also going to be doing the steer smarts. I'm a firm believer in putting on these steering box braces and track bar braces. They definitely helped out with every single one that I've put on. I'm waiting for the wheels from RockTrix to come in, so I don't know if I'm going to dive into the suspension stuff just yet. What I'm probably going to do is go ahead and put on the front bumper just to get it off of my workbench, and I'm going to get that old nasty ugly bumper off. As you can see, this bumper has seen better days.
This looks terrible.
So I'm going to go ahead and get this nasty bumper off and throw that in the trash. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go behind the bumper, and there's a plastic piece of trim. I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way using these Amazon tools. So if you are just getting into one of these Gladiators or a Jeep JLU, this thing right here is going to be your best friend. So with the plastic piece out of the way, you can see kind of what you have to do to take this bumper off. I don't know if I can get in there with the camera, but there are, so there's 8 bolts holding this bumper on, and I believe they are 18 millimeter. So I'm going to take those off. So the next thing that I'm going to do is take off this cheesy little skid plate, and that is a 16 millimeter. So I'm thinking I'm going to be cutting these off. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I need them, but I just don't like them.
I don't like them.
They serve absolutely no purpose that I can see. They just look like they would just get hung up, and I'm probably just gonna cut them off. All right, so the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be drilling out these holes just a little bit bigger, because as you can see, they're kind of weird looking. They're not like an exact circle on any of them, and I'm just gonna make them a little bit bigger. That way the bumper has a little bit more wiggle room. So after about an hour with a die grinder and multiple drill bits, I finally got it to where the bumper will get on there. So I didn't want to put the winch plate on until I knew that this would line up. I had read online where the Moto Build bumpers don't like the factory bolt holes. So that's why I went ahead and drilled these first. Man, that was aggravating. But it fits, and so now I'm going to get the winch plate on, and I'll show you how I'll do that. I have the winch plate right here, and I also have the other bracket, the winch plate bracket, and I'm going to be putting these two together. I believe that's how they go. So I'm just going to be taking this grade 8 hardware and sending that in. So I'll be putting the locking nuts on these with the washer. I'm not going to tighten down anything just yet because I'm not exactly sure that I'm doing this correctly. So I guess you need to take these off. So next thing is getting these winch plate support brackets on, and this is how they go on right here. And so that way the winch plate just sits on that, and you can see the little tab sticking out. So what you do is you stick this tab in there just like this, and you use the existing holes in the frame, and then on this bolt right here you use the factory bolt that you use to take this bracket off, and it plops right in. Pretty simple. Now I'm going to get this winch plate on, and I'm just going to kind of just slide it in. Just like that. And I'm going to take a bolt and a nut just for right now. That way it doesn't fall on my toe. Cool. That looks kind of cool. So far, I'm very impressed with the quality of this bumper. The only part that really stunk was drilling these out. But other than that, everything's lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and get some bolts in these right here. And then I believe we'll be ready to plop the winch on. Now I'm about to put the winch on the winch plate, and I've got all the hardware ready to go. So it should be just as easy as picking it up and putting it in there. Hopefully it fits. So it is pretty tight, but it fits. And really the only thing that's kind of touching are these wires, and it's fine, it's just plastic. So I believe the next thing that I'm going to do is get the actual bumper on, and that way I can tighten these up. So yeah, let's get this bumper on. All right, so I have the fair lead on, and I have the factory 55 thimble, and I ran the wires for the winch. I haven't messed with anything for the fog lights yet, but now I'm going to test the winch and see if it works. Ooh. Cool. Sick. I think it looks really good. That's how far it sticks out. It's not too bad. I think it looks pretty good. These skid plate brackets, probably gonna cut those off next. I just did a terrible mark right here where I think I'm gonna cut. I wanted to cut a little higher, but you can see I'm using that bottom bolt right there, or that bottom hole in this bracket to hold on the winch support. So I can't cut off as much as I want, but I'm definitely going to be cutting this off. See, look how much better that looks. I do have to clean up the edges just a little bit, but there you go. Now you can kind of see it. So it still kind of hangs down, but at least it's not lower than the, well, at least it's not that much lower than the front bumper now. And I probably could come back and clearance it a little bit more and weld some plates back up to strengthen it up, but probably not going to do that right now. I'll probably just do the other side just like it. The passenger side is now matching the driver side, and I think that looks a lot better. Now you can see the pitiful steering under there. I don't know what happened with that, but we'll be replacing that steering also. It just hasn't come in yet. So I think the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take these grandpa steps off. I did some horse trading and ended up with a set of Rubicon rails for a Gladiator. I would like to get an actual dedicated rock slider for these, but for now these will be fine, and anything's better than these grandpa steps. Oh yeah, these look a lot better. They just need to be cleaned up a little bit, but I really dig that look. So I'm going to get the passenger side done, and then we'll move on to something else. So I have the Jeep on the lift now, and what I plan on doing is I'm going to start tearing down this suspension, and I'm going to be replacing that track bar and putting those spacers in the front and getting the Steer Smart track bar brace on. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take these tires and wheels off. So with the front tires off and the front axle supported by the jack, I can go ahead and start removing suspension items. Probably the first thing that I'm going to do is get the sway bar out of the way, because I know I'm not going to be running this setup. Just like that. And these two down here are an 18 millimeter. And I just realized that I'm taking this off, so I could have just done this bottom one, but that's okay. I just realized that. All right, got that off. These sway bar bolts, I think they are 15 millimeter. I'm gonna start taking these off. Ooh, that's some Loctite on that. All right. Now I'm going to be taking off this track bar bolt, and it is a 21 millimeter front and back. And it's also a 21 down here at the axle side. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be removing these shocks. I don't think that I'm going to be able to run these, but I'm going to take them off and measure them compressed and measure them all the way extended, and just to see if I can use them, because I have some Rubicon takeoff shocks and I want to see which ones are longer. But anyway, these are 18 millimeters at the bottom and they're 18 millimeters at the top. The nuts and bolts are. Just like that. And I did go ahead and disconnect this off the control arm. That way when I drop this axle, this isn't stretched. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up these control arms. I'm not going to be replacing them. As of right now, I've got to see where my caster is on the axle once I get the spacer in. But for right now, I'm going to try to leave them if I can. But I'm going to loosen them up because I'm going to be changing the position of the axle against the frame, and you don't want these torqued down whenever it's being separated like that. So what I'll do is I'll loosen them up now, put the spacer in, and then whenever I'm done and I put the Jeep back down on its own weight, I will re-torque these down. I have all of the control arms loose, and I'm going to lower the axle down just a little bit. And while it's lowering, I'm watching everything that's going on. I'm looking for wires, hoses, anything that kind of looks like it's starting to get tight. I'm looking for stuff like that. So now we can get these springs out, hopefully. Cool. So the coils are out of the way, and now I can start getting these spacers on. And what did I do with them? Oh, here they are. So these are the TerraFlex 1.5-inch spacers. So you can, if you want to, just not put the extra spacer on top, but I'm going to go for it since I put the heavy bumper and the winch on. And like I said, this is just temporary. I plan on putting a full suspension system on this, but this was like $100 or something. And while I want to do a full suspension system, I want to do another bunch of stuff to it before I do that. So like I said, this is just temporary. It's probably not going to ride the best, but, and look what came in the mail today. So I have the Synergy adjustable tie rod, and I have the Synergy adjustable drag link. And the reason that I went with Synergy is because I really like how they have the clamps instead of the actual, just using the jam nut. And I really like these clamps. Plus they match the gunmetal gray that I'm using for the bumper and stuff like that. So that's an extra bonus. And also I'm going to be running the Falcon steering stabilizer. I've heard a lot of good reviews on these, especially when you're running a bigger tire. So I think with the Steer Smarts brace, the new steering, and the Falcon steering stabilizer, I'm not going to have any issues with running 37-inch tires. I will probably be getting this steering out of the way. That way everything is just off of it. And then when I go to put everything back on, everything's pretty and brand new. Whenever you start taking these off and everything is spinning, if you take a jack and just pick up right here on the tie rod end, and then it just puts pressure on the tapered part and makes it where it comes right off. Little tip for you. And you just lower it all down and hi-ya! The next thing that I'm going to take off is the steering stabilizer. And that is an 18mm. Everything's kind of moving. Oh gosh, I probably should have took this off first. Oh geez. So the next thing I'm going to do is take off this drag link right here. So the top of the drag link right here where it meets the pitman arm, I'm going to take that off. And then I have the drag link out of the way, and I believe the next thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and get the Steer Smarts track bar bracket on. So I'm going to take these 18mm bolts, I'm going to take them out and then put the bracket on.